Hi, I'm Heyzeus. It's just been announced by Valve in some update notes that they'll be re-enabling Steam market access and trading in the Netherlands and disabling case opening in the Netherlands and Belgium. Now, if you're unaware of what this is all about, both Belgium and the Netherlands had their respective state gambling commissions declare loot boxes illegal a couple of months ago. Now, my understanding is that this has all stemmed from a broader look into loot boxes by a range of European countries, but thus far, Belgium and the Netherlands are the only two countries to take action, and action independently of each other, so these will both be looked at as separate cases. What's happened in Belgium is fairly straightforward. The Gambling Commission said, we want to ban loot boxes some months ago. There was almost certainly some behind the scenes consultation with Valve, and Valve went ahead and disabled loot boxes. But what's happened in the Netherlands is quite a bit more complicated, because the Netherlands Gambling Commission was much more aggressive in laying out a timeline for compliance. And we can look at the message that Dutch Steam users started getting on the 19th of June. Long story short, the message says that Valve was given until the 20th of June to comply with the Gambling Commission's demands, which led to Steam market access and trading being disabled in the Netherlands for the past few weeks. Now, Valve's behaviour here might seem a bit odd. If they're disabling loot boxes now, it doesn't make sense that they initially disabled access to the market instead. Why not just disable loot boxes in the first place? They are the fundamental source of the problem. Well, we can actually see why they initially disabled market access in this message. To quote, "In the meantime, we've received a threat from the Gambling Authority," I actually can't pronounce that word, but it translates to Gambling Authority, "to prosecute Valve if we don't implement a remedy by June 20. The letters don't tell us how to do that, but the study into loot boxes does contain one rather simplistic statement. Quote, loot boxes contravene the law if in-game goods from the loot boxes are transferable. Loot boxes do not contravene the law if the in-game goods from the loot boxes are not transferable. So for now, our only practical alternative is to disable trading and Steam Marketplace transfers for CSGO and Dota 2 items for Dutch customers." I love this section of the message. I just think it's so snide and irritated, but basically, what Valve is saying is that they were delivered threats of prosecution if they don't comply by a certain date, but the letter itself didn't give clear instructions about how to comply. The Gambling Commission either couldn't or wouldn't give any more information to Valve, forcing them to rely on this excerpt from the study into loot boxes. Now, it's important to note, the statement does not state that disabling loot boxes would satisfy the law. The only way it says they can satisfy the law is by making the in-game goods non-transferable. And this is a big deal because it means, from Valve's perspective, they don't know for sure whether disabling loot boxes will be enough. Now, it's likely it would have been enough, but it's also possible, unlikely, but possible, under the information that Valve had available to it, that allowing people to trade existing loot box rewards might still violate the law, even if the loot boxes themselves were removed from the game. Now, this position would make no sense as far as the Gambling Commission's objectives would go, but put yourself in Valve's position. Their priority is to avoid violating the law. As a, very well-known public company, you don't want to be seen to be violating gambling laws. So the information they had was only explicit about a single way they could avoid violating the law, and that was by making the skins non-transferable. So that's why Valve went ahead and disabled market access and trading rather than just disabling loot boxes right away. Now, the stupidity of this was not lost on Valve. As you can see, the letter is explicit that Valve thought the solution was very undesirable. They thought it sucked for their customers. They repeatedly talk about the inconvenience of it and state they're committed to finding a better solution. So, to be clear, despite certain people accusing Valve of fucking with their customers and crediting the Dutch government with fixing the issue, the reality is the Dutch Gambling Commission created this issue by giving Valve stupid instructions that forced them to disable market access and trading, regardless of how little sense it made. Valve didn't want to enforce this policy. They were explicit about consulting with the Gambling Authority to find an alternative solution. Valve are not the ones at fault here. Fittingly though, the Dutch Gambling Authority also got a lot of complaints, so it's not surprising that after some consultation with Valve, we've seen the market access re-enabled and loot boxes removed instead, as it really should have been in the first place. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this individual change isn't too significant. Even combined, the Netherlands and Belgium are fairly small. They do have more people in all of Australia, actually, but in terms of the overall CSGO market, they're only a small part of it. But what is going to be important is whether or not we start seeing a pattern of removing loot boxes in other countries as well, because it's clearly something coming under increased attention. There's obviously other European countries looking at it. Germany has been brought up, for instance. There's been increased attention on it in the USA, although that's much further from seeing a ban. There's even been an effort to label CSGO a gambling game in Australia, although the politician behind that has left Parliament, so it's probably the last of it for now. And ironically, I used to vote for his group in the Senate. Given the increasing number of games using loot boxes to monetize their content, however, this probably isn't a subject that's going to be going away anytime soon. I think more and more countries will probably be scrutinising it in the future. Although that doesn't automatically mean remove loot boxes either. The UK Gambling Commission, for example, has looked into the subject and has decided that loot boxes aren't gambling, so it could go either way. But anyway, one of the things that's important to keep in mind about skin prices is that they're being artificially kept down by people opening them in such large numbers that the average price of a skin from a case is only around 60% of the price of a key. In other words, case openings aren't driven by a rational expectation of profit. And this is important because if large parts of the market lose access to case openings, the other regions might not necessarily increase the rate that they're opening stuff to keep prices stable. It may actually just mean less skins entering the market full stop, and in the long run, that will mean higher prices. Whether that's good or bad, I think it depends, but I think it is good that users from the Netherlands now have market access back, because I can only imagine just how much losing it would have sucked. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. If you found it interesting, please like, comment, subscribe. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Trust the numbers, not your gut. I'm Heyzeus. See ya.